Alright, we're back on the gateway project. That sounds a bit more official than it really is. We've just had 20 tons delivered. In reality, I could have gone for the recycled stuff, but I think it's going to remain visible, so it makes sense to use the nice red local stone. I've dumped a load more stuff here from where I've dug out up top, just to help us level. So I'm going to come down with the digger now. Priority, therefore, is just to neaten it all up. There's an old gateway here, which we're going to reinstate, which will mean that coming off the track, we'll be able to bring sheep through into our handling area, which is going to be the other side of there. But we'll tidy that another day. But now I've got to sort out this. Now, don't be put off by the fields and the agricultural setting here. This is very much the same as you would have if you were doing a patio, a driveway, an area of gravel. It's all about the preparation. So using a mini digger if it's a large area, or digging off the topsoil and the grass, getting down to something that's nice and firm is what you want to do first. And then that is the basis for anything you're going to do, whether it's block paving or a patio or just for a gravel driveway. So we're filling in the lumps and bumps here, smoothing it out, and then the next step is where we start with the new stuff. Okay, on to the next stage. Let me show you where we got to so far. Put all the soil over here. We'll smooth this out. This section will be replanted, and I'll also get that new gate, or the gate, reinstated. I just pulled out the old gate post, so I don't think it's been in use for a while. This is all brambles up to, I think, maybe another 8 meters or so, and then the hedge starts. So I will probably, in time, in the next year or so, clear out that section and replant it with a native hedge, because that's what we're doing all the way up there. We've got 500 meters of hedging to plant. Anyway, that's for another day. Done my best to grade it out with the digger, but nothing beats a rake for the last few bits, so I'm going to rake it all out. All the type 1s at the top now. So if I rake it out, Eden gets it all whacked, then we'll bring down the membrane, then we'll bring down the type 1, and we should be able to at least get this sort of 6x5 or 6x6 meter square done. And then I just haven't decided how far we're going to carry on up. This was just stony soil. We'll end up with a nice clean edge to the grass that side. I'll square up this side a little bit. I don't want to make a track. I don't need to make a track, but I need this to be not slippy in the winter, because some of you may have seen back in the winter, especially on Instagram, it was like an off-road course coming up here in the truck each day. At this point, you're probably good enough to just start laying your new materials, but because we filled in a few lumps and bumps here, we decided to go over with the plate compactor. Now, if you're putting any new material down and you're trying to get a decent firm base to whatever you're doing, then you really do want to roll it in somehow. You could just use a garden roller, tamp it in by hand, or ideally hire a plate compactor or a vibrating roller. That means that all of these little lumps and bumps are going to be nice and smooth. They're not going to puncture our membrane, and we know that we're starting with something that's half decent and nice and compact. Right, Eden did an awesome job of helping there. So it's pretty hard going if you ever use a plate compactor on soil. It doesn't really need it, because it will just settle naturally, and we're not putting patio slabs or porcelain tiles on it. But at least it's fairly compact, and now we can roll out some geotextile. I've got to take photos of every stage here, because this is part of capital grant stewardship stuff, basically preventing soil erosion and damage to ground around gateways. So this is part of that. You just have to prove each step, and one of the requirements is geotextile and then type 1. All right, let's see how wide this roll is. You would not believe how many comments I've had over the years telling me I should not be using garden fleece in this situation. I can assure you this is not garden fleece, it's geotextile, and it is a non-woven geotextile perfectly suited to this situation. And I'll explain a little bit in a minute about why we use it. Right, that should do it. Doesn't need to be perfect. It's not a back garden, it's not a landscaping project. If you want to see all that sort of stuff, you can go dig deep on the channel and find all the old stuff. For now, we're going all agricultural. This is simply to stop all the aggregate pushing down and sinking and like messing up and mixing with the soil below. It's not really about weeds, even though it would suppress them. I don't mind if the grass kind of grows over it a little bit. It just softens the look. I don't need to put like timber edging around it and that sort of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about what we're putting down here. You will see it often referred to as MOT Type 1, which is Ministry of Transport Type 1. It's a specification for something which is around 40 millimeters down to dust. And by being a mixture of sizes and shapes and angular, it all locks together really well. So once you've got the right machine to compact it down with, whether that's a plate compactor or a roller, all of that all the fines will settle in, fill all the gaps, and you'll end up with a very solid foundation which could be underneath a track, a lane, or even like concrete slab. So by using the membrane, it's keeping it separate, it's not going to push down and mix in with the soil below, and we can spread it out and get a really good start. In this case, we're going to leave it as our finished surface, but in most scenarios you'll be laying whatever your finished product is on top of this. Now, one of the biggest tips I can give you is always think about how you get the aggregate delivered. If you're doing a largish area, anything more than a couple of tons, and it's coming loose, then really you want to try and get that vehicle as close as you can. So we've tipped it up top where we also need it spread, and there was no way I could bring a big 20-ton truck over that field, especially after the rain we had. However, if you can, get them to tip it and drive as they tip it, and it will save you hours. And that's exactly what we'll be doing in a future video when we relay the top yard. I think I've done as much as I need to down there. I've come up about halfway up the hill. It does still get slippy at the top in winter, but I'll wait for my next load of Type 1 because I'm bound to be ordering some in the next 6 months before I just extend that. This is where the lorry dumped it. As you can see, 20 tons doesn't go far. I think it's at about 18.5 when it comes off the weighbridge. But anyway, I've got a nice strong edge here, really thick, really substantial. Over here, bits broke at the side of this drain that I cut in, still haven't filled it in. But over here you can see it's held up fine, and that huge lorry today had its back wheels on it as it tipped, so if that didn't crack it, nothing will. So I'm going to finish up to it. In the future we're going to put a drain in here because other drainage needs to go across and join into our pipe that goes down to the brook. You'll notice I haven't put any geotextile here. That's because there is already at least a foot of hardcore and rubble and stuff from over the years. This is a very, very solid base here. We're just top dressing it really. So I'm only aiming to put about 75mm here, then we'll whack it all down and it'll just be a neat finish. By not having the geotextile, it also means that in the future when we come to redo any bits of the driveway, work out garden stuff, then I don't have to worry about that fabric underneath. I can just scrape this off and reuse it or move things around. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in the tractor this time because I think that's probably the easiest on this big expanse, and just grade it out with the bucket. Right, it's a new day, the sun is still out. Hey? Why not? Have you turned the shake back off now, it started? So the sun's still out. Joe's going to get this done and we should have our new gateway finished. You might notice we've done a bit of a rejig with the gate post and the old fencing. We've got a whole load of fencing going on at the moment. If you want to check out the last installation, we've got about 500 meters done over Easter. Then there is a video on the DIY farm channel and I'll try and put a link down in the description. So we'll get all of that sorted and a new pair of gates will hang over this. So this will keep the kind of most trafficked area a little bit cleaner. Means livestock won't be churning it up, and obviously vehicle access in and out is far easier once you've got something like this, a nice solid base. All that soil won't be dragged all over the yard all the time. And there we go. It's done 2 gateways in a day in an hour.
And if you got this far in the video, then you can check out our blog, because we've been on Instagram, we've been giving options of photos, and
yeah,
we realised that YouTube haven't had the opportunity to see these photos.
This is the voting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And we'll tell you, if you go to our blog, there is a blog post all about what we're actually going to use these photos for, and we might put 2 photos up now on this YouTube video, and you can vote down below. And I'll leave it as cryptic as that.
So this is the biggest of all the gateways probably. I haven't even shown you the bottom one yet. So the bottom one is kind of where we could start a track in the future, but for the time being it's just about the gates. This one here, I think we're just going to leave it like this, but what we were just saying to each other is it's a pretty uneven mix. With type 1, when you start moving it around, the fines, the sandy stuff ends up in certain places, and you end up...
As it was in one big thing, I bet loads of it ended up down there.
Yeah, maybe. So where you're standing now, yeah, once it rains and that's nice and solid, whereas it's quite bare stone over here. And it does lock in, but over time it will rut up.
And then stones might come out with the car and stuff. And
yeah, the tractor. So I think what we'll do is get a ton or 2 of the fines and kind of put that on, whack it again.
Different colour?
What do you mean, like glitter?
Is it cheaper?
No, it'll be the same.
That'll be the girl's choice.
I think it's all quarried, so it's all the same stone, it's just graded out.
Well, look at this!
This is,
boy?
I've faded out here because I ran out, but down here, this is quite neat, this edge.
Get back up?
Because it's, the momentum of it does climb, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, not on soil, but it does on.
No, I know, but...
It's still quite steep here, but I think it'll be alright in the winter. And we'll tidy up, I'll get rid of all this, and I think if I put a bit of soil there, it should end up quite neat. Now, if that wasn't enough spreading and whacking action for you, then we will be doing a whole load more of this because we've been busy up on the top driveway as well. So as you saw, there was a little bit of footage there of another lorry load of gravel being tipped. We've made a start on repairing some of the ruts and bumps up by the main barn and up by the top gates. So Joe and I have been busy on that. I think that will have to be a separate video because we're not quite finished with it. It's a little bit more of the same, but also we're going to be laying a whole different type of gravel and a much more kind of finished look to the whole thing. So we'll be looking forward to sharing that with you. As always, a huge thank you to our channel sponsors Speedy and Speedy Tool Hire. Have all of the gear that you're going to need for this sort of stuff. So we'll leave a link down in the description to things like the plate compactor, the mini digger. You can see we've got an even smaller mini digger for a couple of bits as well. So there's a whole host of things. You might need a walk behind dumper or something to get gear around to the back. And in the future, hopefully we can sort out some sort of discount code. I know they're busy working on that for us, but we'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.